So they considered themselves above the rest of the people because by saying Rabbi Akraman, it's يدل على غير الإثبات على غير الفاعل. My Lord has in fact honored me like He has not honored anyone else. He thinks of me as special. And since I'm special, naturally, as a result, I deserve all these favors. So He doesn't even mention the favors because He feels He's entitled to them. And this actually at the very individual level is a very sick disease. The one who gets so much from Allah starts believing that because Allah has honored him specially, that he's entitled to it. Somehow he's elite over the others. So even though he mentioned his Lord, he said Rabbi, he did mention his Lord, but even the mention of the Lord here is out of arrogance. It's not out of humility. So he says, Rabbi Akraman, oh my Lord has honored me. And now this same person, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَأَمَّا إِذَا مَبْتَلَاهُ. Why here? What this is a continuation. The ataf is a continuation. So it's the same human being. If and when we thoroughly test him again. How do we test him this time? فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. Actually, I forgot to mention one thing. I'll mention at the end of this ayah for both, because it's the same for both ayah. فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, how it's translated is, He restricts the provision from him, or He lessens the provision from him, or He constrains the provision from him. When we test him and we exact the calculation for his provision, in other words, when he loses his wealth, it is part of the rizq of Allah. When he had a lot of money, it was written for him. When he lost most of that money, that was also written for him. Allah didn't take anything away or give anything that wasn't already. إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مِّن قَبْلِ أَن نَبْرَأَهَا, as He says in Surah Al-Hadid. Except that it's already in a book that's already been declared. We've already elaborated, right? So this was part of qadr. Before Allah even tells us what He says, He tells us what we're supposed to be thinking. The rizq that comes our way is not some special, exception to the rule. This was written for us, and the rizq that leaves us is also part of what was not written for us. That morsel of food was not meant to go in our mouth. So فَقَدَرَ عَلَيْهِ رِزْقَهُ. That's how Allah says He takes His wealth away. He calculates, He exacts the calculation for him. Now He says, فَيَقُولُ رَبِّي أَهَانًا. Then He says, it is my Lord who has, and the word ahanan from ihana, which means to actually make an effort to humiliate someone out of animosity against them. So what this person is saying is, my Lord has humiliated me, but in parentheses it means it is because He hates me, or somehow He's so angry at me for something apparently I can't figure out what it is. I don't know why He's doing this to me. That sort of attitude. That entire attitude is captured when He says ahanan. Similarly, there's a person who's bent upon complaining, Allah has humiliated me. He said, no, you shouldn't say that. You shouldn't talk like that about Allah Azza wa Jal. It's a test from, no, I don't know, bro. You don't understand. He's humiliated me. He's made up his mind. This person has made up his mind out of sheer frustration. So what did they associate honor with? When people respect you, and when people give you blessings. By the way, the next ayah did not talk about ikram, and it didn't talk about the na'im. It didn't talk about honoring or giving blessings. It talked about rizq. What we learned from that is, what is our rizq? It's two things. It's all the physical blessings Allah gives us, and also the honor. The respect that people show us is also part of the rizq, is also part of the provision. And so when that is taken away, for this person and the people around him apparently, the only thing that makes you respectable is your wealth. And when you don't have wealth, you're not respectable. So he feels humiliated when he doesn't have wealth. Actually our kids start thinking like that. We're actually starting to train our kids subconsciously even to think like that. So if they dress a certain way, if they don't wear certain brand names, if they wear a certain kind of simple shoe as opposed to an elaborate shoe, if they don't get that book bag that everybody else got, right? If they don't have that video game system, they only have the outdated older one. If you're, I said this last time, if your parents drive an older car, then the teenage kids will ask you to, or even the elementary school, they'll ask you to drop you off around the corner. Like don't drop me off in front of the school, because that's a humiliation. It's a kind of humiliation. Right? What do they associate honor and humiliation with? With what you own. Similarly, I just live in an apartment, I don't own a home. I'm not going to invite anybody because it's so embarrassing. Right? Or the wife will say, why would you want to invite someone to our little studio apartment? It's so embarrassing. Right? What are we associating honor and humiliation with? What we own. And these are things we say to each other all the time. This is not some, abstract, these kuffar in Quraysh were so evil. This is what we do all the time. Muslims do this all the time. We talk like this all the time, right? So here Allah is teaching us, this is the character of insan. Now insan, Allah didn't say kafir, He said insan first of all, which means all human beings tend to have this attitude. The other thing is we should never forget the root origin of the word insan. Like for example, Al-Farra comments, nasiya. It comes from nasiya, he forgot. He forgot. He forgot where he came from. He forgot what the truth is. He forgot what his master is. He forgot, even if he remembers his master, he forgot what the relationship with his master is supposed to be. You and I aren't entitled to anything if he's our master. All of his things are gifts. When he gives them, it's his gift. When he doesn't give them, it wasn't ours to begin with. No room to complain.